Hello and welcome back. We have issue 5 of Combat Patrol. I haven't actually reviewed issue 4 yet. That will come later. I wanted to get this one out because this is effectively the week that it is available in stores. So I want to get this out while it's still available for people to still try and get it. The next one will be issue 6 because that comes out in shops on Wednesday. So I want to be there for that. And then issue 4 we'll catch up with because it's no longer available anywhere except for places like Forbidden Planet and that kind of thing that will have stock. They've probably got stock at Hachette as well. So we're going to do 5, then 6, then come back to 4 in the gap between deliveries and that kind of thing. So I have already built our little INFERNUS Marine. He's very cool. He's not massively different to the other Sergeant that we've got. But yeah, very cool model. So I have recorded the building of this miniature and that will appear at the end of the video. So if you want to see that get assembled, you can skip right to the end. But today what we'll do is we'll go through the magazine and we'll run through the battle report for the mission we get in there. Right. Okay, so the first section is how to build, which I've already done. So we'll come back to that later. I like to read the little blurb that we get as well. Welcome. This week's issue features a special INFERNUS Marine Sergeant. First available in this magazine. First available. Does that mean he's coming out separately somewhere else? He's perfect for adding some extra variety to your INFERNUS Marine squad. Inside, you'll also find some new background on the Imperium, lots of guides and a play section that will teach you everything you need to know about armor-piercing weaponry. You'll need the Tyranid Infestation Site Battlefield Essentials cards for this mission, so make sure you have them ready. Happy hobbying. And I have them ready along with this map because this is where it gets played. I'll skip the building section because that is covered at the end of the video. So the next section is the painting section. So we got 3 paints with issue 4. We've got Macragge Blue, we got Wraithbone, and we got the burgundy one. Its name escapes me. But yeah, this is basically forming our early section of painting. Yeah. Space Marines covering Macragge Blue and a few Wraithbone sections. Tyranids covering Wraithbone with a few burgundy sections. And obviously where you have a crossover, so on our Sergeant, he has his foot wedged onto a dead Tyranid. You obviously got to paint all the various bits on it. But it's all pretty good, pretty in-depth. Right, the Imperial Tithe. So this talks about basically the tithe that the various worlds of the Imperium has to pay. The Imperium of Man is a vast and hungry beast. Its constant campaign of conquest demands unending resources that are provided by the Imperial Tithe. Some planets pay the Imperial Tithe in raw materials, while others provide warriors. If a world fails to pay its tithe, the consequences are dire indeed. And then the blurb kind of goes through the great need for the Imperial Tithe. You know, it's a constant machine. And really, it's the Astra Militarum. If you're paying in warriors, your warriors are getting delivered to the Astra Militarum. They are I hate to say it, they are the bottom rung. They're the most numerous massacred force. And yeah, if you're going to pay in warriors, that is generally the machine that they're going into. Next up, we talk about the Black Ships. To be a Psyker in the Imperium is a dark fate indeed. Regardless of where they are born, almost every single psychically sensitive human in the Imperium is the property of the Adeptus Astra Telepathica. This much-feared organisation stalks the stars, filling the holds of their dreaded black ships with captive psychers. So the black ships full of kind of potential psychers and anyone with psychic ability. Psychers are hated and feared in the Imperium, but they are essential for its functioning. From the astropaths who cast messages across the vast distances of space to the battle psychers that serve the Imperial Guard. The black ships are constantly searching for new psychers to bring back to Terra for training. The most powerful and dangerous are killed on the spot, while others are placed into the vast and terrible machinery of the Golden Throne to sustain the Emperor. The rest undergo a brutal initiation process known as sanctioning in order to control and shackle their power and ward them against chaos. Those that survive sanctioning are often deeply traumatized by the process. Grim, grim, grim. And then it talks about sergeants in general. It's got our Infernus Marine sergeant pictured and all that kind of thing. But it gives a little bit of blurb about Infernus Marines in general. Few mortals can match a Space Marine for strength or skill, and few Space Marines can hope to reach the rank of sergeant. Having proven their worth in battle, these warriors have begun their long journey through the ranks of command. Their job is not just to fight, but to direct their brothers in battle. And then a little bit about the kind of the iconic red helm. Every chapter has its own unique heraldry used to honour its champions. Sergeants of the Ultramarines chapter, for example, wear red helmets, allowing their fellow troops to recognise these beacons of command, even in the thick of battle. Okay, then we've got a kind of a naming section for our Infernus Marine. Great. Now we get to the Flames of Purification. So this is the beginning of our play section. It kind of gives us the setting for our battle report that we're going to do in a minute. A Space Marine never gives up. Only in death does duty end. As the last survivor of his squad, an Infernus Marine Sergeant is cut off and deep behind enemy lines. For a mere mortal, that would be a disaster. For this Space Marine, it's an opportunity to wreak havoc and to take burning vengeance on the Tyrannid swarm. So basically, what we're going to do is this looks very much like the battle report from issue number 2 or 3, scenario 01, Flames of Purification. A lone Infernus Marine Sergeant has located a key node of the Tyrannid infestation. He has launched a lightning raid to purge these vital sources of biomass by any means necessary. He will have to work quickly, for even cut off from the main swarm, these infestation sites will defend themselves fiercely with biological weaponry. So gather your data sheet. For this battle, you'll need the profile for the Infernus Sergeant, and that basically appears just on the Infernus squad data sheet. You'll need to make sure you have some dice and a notepad and pen to keep track of the fuel used. Okay. How to win. In this mission, your goal is to destroy all 4 infestation sites, represented by the battlefield's essential cards, before the Infernus Marine Sergeant is overwhelmed. You win when all 4 infestation sites are destroyed. And then the turn breakdown. Moving and shooting in this mission works almost exactly the same as it did in an introduction, with the addition of extra armor penetration profiles for the Sergeant's Pyre Blaster. Follow the sequence below until the infestation sites are destroyed or the Infernus Marine Sergeant is slain. Okay, so the turn breakdown basically goes through movement in the same way as before. So our Space Marine Sergeant, he can either move 2 and do nothing, or he can move 1 and shoot, or not move at all and shoot. His range is basically an adjacent area, but that is exactly the same as it was in the previous Infernus Marine playthrough. Now, in terms of single-use profiles, in this mission, your Infernus Marine is equipped with 3 canisters of experimental armor-piercing fuel for his Pyre Blaster. You can use each of these canisters once. To represent this in your battle, before you make a shooting attack with a Pyre Blaster, you may opt to change its AP to one of the values seen here. Make a note when you have changed the AP, you cannot use the same AP value more than once, except the Pyre Blaster's standard AP of 0. AP is armor piercing. Consider carefully when you use your higher AP fuel, you might want to save that for the very toughest of the Tyrannid infestation sites. Okay, so we're set up for the playthrough now. We have our Infernus Marine. he sat in the bottom left there. At the top left, we have our medium infestation site. Diagonally up from our sergeant, we have the large. Diagonally up from there, we have the armoured. And then bottom right, we have the small infestation sites. So remember, he can either move 2 as a run and then not shoot, or move just 1 or not move at all and then shoot. Okay, so he's going to go here and he's going to fire into the large infestation site. He is going to, from his special canisters, he's going to use the AP-1. And what that's going to do, it's going to remove 1 from the saving roll for the large infestation site. So that site saves on a 5-up normally, but because we've done AP-1, it's going to have to roll a 6 to save. Okay, so he's going to roll a d6 to see how many shots he makes, because that is the statistics for the Pyreblaster. They make d6 shots. He's going to make 4 shots. Now the Pyreblaster auto hits, so all 4 go through, and then we just need to do a wounding roll. Now, the toughness of the large infestation site is a 5, and the toughness of the INFERNUS squad is a 4. Okay, so let's just take a quick pause so I can point out the obvious error that I've just made. When you're doing any kind of combat, whether that's fighting or shooting, you always test your weapon strength against your opponent's toughness. Now, I've accidentally, for this battle report, used my sergeant's toughness as his strength. So the strength of the weapon, the Pyreblaster, should be 5. I've accidentally used a 4. But in terms of kind of going through the results and that kind of thing, the principles actually remain the same. So just to understand the scale a little bit better, if your strength is the same as your opponent's toughness, then you need to roll a 4-up. Then it's 50-50 as to who wins. If your strength is higher but not double, you only need a 3-up. And if it's double or more, it's a 2-up. Just in the same way as if your opponent's toughness is higher than your strength but not quite double, you need to roll a 5-up, and if their toughness is double your strength, then only a 6-up will be good enough for that wound to go through. So that means that we need to roll a 5 to make any of these hit. And there you go, we make 2, so they both go through. 2 go through. The large infestation site is going to roll to save them. Remember, he needs a 6 now. He doesn't make either of them. The large infestation site is dead. Okay, INFERNUS Marine Sergeant now is going to make a move over to here. And he's going to attack the small infestation site. He isn't going to use any of his AP because the small infestation site has a save of 0. So it cannot save at all. So he's going to roll a d6 to see how many shots he makes. He makes 3. It auto hits. Now, because he only has a toughness of 2, that means that our strength of 4 is double. So we only need to roll a 2 or more to wound here. And there you go, we roll 4. So both go through. The small infestation site is toast. Okay, up to the armoured infestation site. We're going to go for AP-3. Okay, so he saves on a 4-up. Now if we go AP-3, that effectively makes it a 7-up, so he cannot save at all. So we'll start by rolling to see how many hits he does. He just does the 1. Okay, so he's done the auto hit. He now needs to wound. He's got a strength of 4. The toughness of the armoured infestation site is 6. So he will only get through on a 5. And he does it, so that reduces the armoured infestation site to 1 wound. He's going to go again. He's got a 4 there. So that's 4 shots. Again, they all auto hit. And again, they need 5s to wound. And none of them go through. We'll go again. D6 shots. There's 2 there. Need a 5-up. double 6. Okay, so we did an AP -2 originally so as he wouldn't get a save. Sorry, so we did AP -3 originally so as he wouldn't get a save. Now I think that on the basis that we missed on that first roll, we won't get that again. So our dude here is going to save on a 4 up. Let's see how he gets on. He saves them both. Come on, this is taking a while. D6 shots. 6. It's more like it. So auto hit. Wounds on 5s. 1, just 2 go through. So he'll save these on a 4. We only do 2 more wounds. Sorry, we only do 1 more wound. He doesn't make either of them. So armored infestation site is toast. Okay, next turn he can't reach the medium infestation site, so he's going to run for 2 and end his turn, and on his next turn he's going to move 1 and then attack. So D6 shots. He does 4. Got a strength 4 against a toughness 3, so because it's more, we will hit on 3s. It's more, but it's not double. If it was double, we'd hit on 2s. Okay. So 3 go through. He's got a save of a 6 up. We only need to do 2. I forgot to actually do my AP on this turn. Because I've forgotten it, let's leave it for now. But he will need to roll. He'll need to get at least 2 6s to stay in the game. Oh, he nearly does it. But he doesn't quite. So our man is dead, and that is the end of the battle report. Now, because it didn't mention there's a Tyrannid turn there, doesn't really, you know, there's not much at risk in that one, but we'll finish up with the text anyway. Space Marine victory. The Infernus Sergeant watches coldly as the last infestation site is reduced to a charred ruin. Without a word, he refuels his Pyreblaster and prepares for a long, brutal journey back to the Ultramarines' front lines. He carries with him decades of experience, and for the first time in this campaign, a glimmer of hope for victory. Okay, now it's talking about dice and modifiers. So, for example, here it's teaching us what a D3 is. Okay, so to do that, basically, if you roll a dice, a 1 and a 2 is 1 for D3, a 3 and a 4 is 2 for D3, a 5 and a 6 is 3 for D3. So for example, oh, that's no good. If I roll a 4, that is a D2. The best way to do that is if you half your score and then round up. So on a 1, you half your score and you round up, so back to 1. 6, you half your score, that's a D3. 5, half your score and round up, that's a D3. You get the gist of it. Talks a little bit about re-rolls, some units getting a re-roll and that kind of thing. And then it goes to modifiers. So again, it discusses the AP, the armor piercing. So on an AP -2, it removes 2. So 2 becomes 0. So saving roll of 2 becomes 0. A saving roll of 3 becomes 1. A saving roll of 4 becomes 2. 5 becomes 3. 6 becomes 4. And that's it for issue 5. A brilliant issue. So next up, we've got the Barb Gaunts. I'll be releasing my review of that on Wednesday. And then we have Combat Patrol. It's actually got the details for parts 7 and 8. And that is parts 1 and 2 of our first wave of Termagants. So we get effectively 2 waves, issue 7 and 8, and then a few more. It might be issues 13 and 14, something like that. But this is our first lot that we're getting. Happy hobbying. Okay, and then we're going to get straight into building our Infernus Marine. So we're going to start with pieces 3 and 4. So this is a cool model, very, very much like it. And it was a nice, it was quite enjoyable to put together, but it wasn't without its issues. There's a few little tricky points in it, and I'll point them out as we come to it. Now, you don't normally see much footage of me cleaning up the models, taking out mold lines and all that sort of stuff, but I do it. I use a hobby knife for this, not the mold line remover, and yeah, generally it works pretty well. You can see I got sucked into buying the GW hobby knife though. Okay, next we need pieces 5 and 6. Okay, so the legs they went on pretty well. The one with the bent knee, no problem whatsoever. But for the straight leg, I think it's the right leg. Just make sure you dry fit that a few times before you start gluing. I didn't, and I had to mess about with it a little bit to actually get it in the right position. So yeah, make sure you're dry fitting that first. Okay, now you need parts 7 and 9. That's the arm and the hand holding the grenade. No major issues again. If there was a problem really, it's trying to get the excess sprue off of the grenade. So the way the sprue mark is positioned on the grenade is it's sort of recessed a little bit on the flat part of the grenade with sort of two ridges either side of it. So make sure when you get your hobby knife in there, just tease it off, a few kind of small slithers at a time, just to make sure you don't put any big gouges in the grenade at all. Also, the glue connection point between the wrist and the arm is very, very shallow. So make sure you dry fit practice a couple of times before taking that on. Now you need part 8, which is the other arm. And then you can go and add the other arm as well. The only thing I'd say about this is that there's no kind of deep recesses on the connection points where you glue them onto the shoulder. What I would say is, just make it look as natural as possible. Try and make it look as less animated as you can. 10 and 11 are our shoulder pads. Why, oh, why do they have to put the sprue connection points where they do on shoulder pads? Why don't they just place it inside the lip a little bit, just so as it can't be seen? You can just clip it up. You don't have to mess around cleaning up or anything like that. It beggars belief. I mean, we seem to have got past the days where there's sprue connection points in the middle of foreheads and that kind of thing. But yeah, they do need to work on this a little bit more. Then we need to choose our head. I'm choosing the one with the mask. Sorry, helmet. So in terms of the head for this model, there's not really much you can go wrong. I referenced the instructions to see which way he would be looking, but for this model particularly, it doesn't matter if he's looking at the grenade or gazing into the stars or anything like that. Now, if there's anything that was frustrating in this build, it's this kind of dead burning tyrannid that you attach to the boot. The connection point is very, very shallow, so it's difficult to work out if you're putting it in the right place. Definitely dry fit it a whole bunch of times. Get used to kind of working out how it slots in before you start applying any glue, because this is one of those ones that could easily lead to some frustration and yeah, knackering up your foot. Now, if you're wondering what I'm doing here, don't know how, but I must have gone awry with the glue at one point, because I seem to have managed to add a very tiny penis onto my Space Marine Sergeant. So yeah, no idea how that happened, but let's get rid of that. And there we have the finished article, and I'm very, very happy with it, to be fair. A really, really nice change for our Sergeant. Yeah, cool, can't fault it at all, really. Lovely model. So thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with all of the Combat Patrol news and all that kind of stuff and all the reviews. And yeah, thanks for sticking with me to the end. See you later.